Well, hey there guys, my name is Big Lou and welcome to my workshop, or rather, what will eventually become my workshop. This is what I'm calling my not a shop tour video. Every shop's got to start somewhere, and this is where mine is starting. Right now it is just a garage that I do some work in, and I'm going to be changing that. Over the next several months to a year, I'm going to be putting videos out on the transformation of this space into a viable workshop. But for right now, I want to document what the shop looks like today. Today is the beginning of November. I want to say it's the 6th of November, 2018. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. Some logistics about the space are, it is a 20 by 20 two-car garage. It's got vaulted ceilings, and the ceilings are about 13 feet at the peak. It is not insulated. I live in Florida, so it gets really hot out here. One of the projects that I've got coming up the first part of next year is to put a mini split in to be able to have some insulation and cool off, not insulation, but some AC in the shop, be able to work out here when it's 98 degrees outside and 200% humidity in Florida. The house was built in 1962 by my grandparents. I inherited the house after my grandmother passed about 5 years ago. And during that time, I've done a lot of work on the inside. I've completely remodeled the kitchen, remodeled the living room. I've emptied out the garage, as you will see in just a minute. There are cabinets all over the place that were just full of junk that had been accumulated over the course of a lifetime of getting stuff and storing stuff and not wanting to throw stuff away. So now, as you can see behind me, my grandfather had a viable workbench and a tool wall and stuff like that, but he stopped working in the shop several years before he died, and he died in 1998. So it's kind of just been accumulating stuff for the better part of 2 decades. And part of my challenge is to be able to completely go through all this, find some diamonds in the rough, do some rehab on them, and turn them into viable tools again, and just get rid of the junk and clutter and be able to turn this into an actual workshop again. So let's go ahead and go around the room. We're going to start over there where we come in. All right, so this doorway leads into the laundry room. The laundry room runs the entire length of the garage that way, and you go up the stairs into the main house right here. This is a standard doorway, and there's some projects here that I'm gonna do. I wanna be able to take this out. I've got some tool storage over here just because I don't have room for it over on the workbench, but I wanna take all this out, and eventually I'm gonna be putting lumber storage here, maybe a tool rack, or a clamp rack, something like that, and make much better use of this space rather than just these old shelves. Let's go this way. All right, so as you can see, these cabinets here are about 4 feet deep. They were built, it's all just particle board and dimensional lumber that my grandfather built in the mid-60s. It's a big waste of space as far as being able to have a viable wall for putting tools up against or just having a working area. Part of my plan is to take a lot of these cabinets out and have just the blank wall be able to have some good workshop space. The smoker, my pride and joy. I love it. I'm going to be building a shed in the backyard that's going to house the smoker and the grill and other yard tools and stuff like that. Projects in the future. All right, so most of the stuff in these cabinets is just superfluous household junk. It's perfectly belonging in a garage, but not in a workshop. I have plans to build other storage throughout the house and in the backyard when I do the shed, which I talked about earlier. All that stuff will go in. This one cabinet, though, is where I keep my compressor and a hose reel. I've got a 30-gallon Husky compressor that I got from Home Depot. It is awesome. It is quiet as far as compressors go. And the hose reel is just a manual wind hose reel that I got from Harbor Freight. I'll have links to both of those things down in the description below. So, moving on. All right, so back here is kind of my lumber storage area, and I use that term very loosely. I've got a lot of scrap cutoffs here, some 2x4s, 2x6s, some masonite here, big piece of cherry that I'm going to be using for a project coming up. It's all just kind of back here in this corner. I've got to find something else to do with it. Again, future projects. So most people have a clamp rack. I have a clamp cabinet. I've just got a box here that's full of these old, not old, they're brand new F-style clamps. Got some Bessie clamps, got some other clamps, just clamps all throughout here. I'm gonna be building a clamp rack over there, which I talked about when I was on the other side, but for now, they're in this cabinet, they're out of the way, and they're easily accessible just right here. So, let's go to the workbench. Don't judge me. You all know you have a workbench like this at some point in your life. This just happens to be my time in my life where my workbench looks like this. It got to be this way over many, many, many years of neglect and not having people that take care of their tools and live in a workshop environment. And I don't fault my grandmother for that. She wasn't a maker. She wasn't a tool person. She just put stuff out here. That's just how things go sometimes. But it's in my hands now, and things are going to change. It's going to be a whole different place. You're going to love it. All right, so this is the one area of the garage that actually looks like it could be a viable workspace, or at least semi-organized tool storage. I've got my planer here that's mounted to a piece of plywood that I put in my jaw horse, which you'll see in just a minute. I've got all my Ryobi tools here, my slow grinder for sharpening stuff, toolbox, drill press, some organized drawers here. This countertop, this storage thing was here in the garage. It was built by my grandfather way back in the day, long time ago, and I've just kind of repurposed it to house tools, and it works right now. It is not a permanent solution by any stretch, but for what I have to work with right now, it really works, and I love having this kind of one little area that is just kind of a gleaming spot of organization in an otherwise chaotic space. So I do have a lot of other plans for what to do with this area before I build out the whole rest of the shop. So again, future projects. I got a lot of stuff going on up here that I can't wait to share with you. All right, and now we're facing the door. Obviously, as you can see, it's just a standard garage door. I do have plans next year, beginning part of next year, when I do the mini split, to put some insulation in here to keep it from being so incredibly sweltering hot in the summertime. This is the jaw horse that I had mentioned earlier. It is the Rockwell Sheetmaster jaw horse. It will hold a full 4-foot sheet of plywood, the width of a 4-foot sheet of plywood. I use this thing for everything. I've got my planer attached to a piece of plywood that I'll clamp into this. I've got my miter saw attached to a piece of plywood that I'll clamp into this. It just is a wonderfully versatile work surface clamp, whatever you need it to be. It is awesome. I use it all the time because this is kind of my main area that I have right now for breaking down sheet goods and just actually doing fabricating. I've got my table here in the middle, and that is kind of like an assembly table and finishing table and things like that. So let's go ahead and do a 180 and you can see what the shop looks like from that direction. All right, and this is kind of the center of the shop. You can see I've got a Husky job site table here with a piece of plywood attached to it with some foldable legs. This does collapse down and can be folded away pretty easily. You may notice I don't have a table saw, and that is unfortunate. I have been very limited in what I'm able to work on because of that, but that's changing. I'm actually going to pick up my table saw tomorrow. So keep an eye out for a video. You should be able to see the link here if you're watching this in the future, which all of you will be. Me picking up the table saw, doing an assembly, and putting it together, but I will save the details of that for that video. Anyway, I will have full lists of all my tools that I currently have. As you can see, it's not a whole lot. I do have plans to get a bandsaw and a lathe. I've already got the planer. I've got a miter saw. My table saw will be here tomorrow. So that's what my shop is currently as of the beginning of November 2018. I have so many things that I want to learn how to do. I want to be a much better woodworker. I want to learn how to do welding. I want to learn how to do 3D printing and CNC work and a lathe. There's so much stuff for me to learn and explore in this wonderful world that is woodworking and making. I hope that you come along for the journey. You can subscribe by clicking down right there and share this video amongst your friends and your social media. Trying to grow my channel. As of today, it has 0 subscribers because, well, I haven't actually launched the channel as of the recording of this. It's there, but there's no subscribers. I think I'm the only subscriber, but you have to subscribe to your own. I'm going to stop talking now and let you guys get on with your day. Check out the next video, and we'll see you next time.